I'd like to switch and just spend a minute on Pakistan. I know there's been lots of discussion about the security of the nuclear weapons. I'd like to be very clear. I don't see any indication right now that security of those weapons is in jeopardy, but clearly we are very watchful, as we should be. As far as operations are concerned, our military-to-military contacts and dialogue between leaders continue, and I've seen no disruption of that as a result of the emergency measures in place. I've also not seen and do not anticipate any interruption of the logistics through Pakistan at this point. And certainly we are spending time watching each one of these areas, but I just wanted to bring you up to speed. So no major changes to our military relationship with Pakistan, watching it very carefully. We'd certainly like to see the emergency measures end as soon as possible, but I believe militarily the situation is stable.
Are there gaps in the U.S. government's knowledge about the safeguard system in Pakistan, such that you are either have received or are seeking assurances from the Pakistanis about the condition of those safeguards?
I'm not aware that we have either asked or received from the Pakistanis any reassurances. I have the sense people are comfortable.
Are there gaps in the U.S. government's knowledge about the way that system works?
I don't know the answer to that. Yeah.
Secretary Gates, did you see this coming yesterday when you were on the Hill, that the leadership in Congress was not going to give you more, was not going to, I mean, you must have issued this same warning. They say, the Democratic Party leaders say they want the war to end. That's not what your timetable is suggesting.
Well, you know, my view, and I actually said this at least in front of one of the houses and maybe both. You know, initially, the President was asked to announce that drawdowns would begin in our troops. Then he was asked to set a date for when the drawdowns would begin. Then he was asked to give a timetable for the drawdowns, and then he was asked to change the mission of the troops. The President has moved in all four of these areas. He's announced there will be drawdowns. The drawdowns have already started. The timetable is as laid out by General Petraeus for at least the first 5 brigade combat teams, and that we will begin the transition of mission in December when the 1st Brigade Combat Team comes out. So the issue now really is about pacing. How fast do you change the mission? How fast do you draw down the troops? And what I told members of Congress yesterday is, for those who allege that the views of the generals were not sufficiently taken into account at the front end of the war, now you have a recommendation from the commander in the field, from the commander of CENTCOM, and from the Joint Chiefs of Staff, unanimous on what makes sense in terms of pacing so that we don't put at risk the gains we've already made. The Iraqis know that they will be taking increasing responsibility, and we move toward the drawdowns that we've described here before, and the drawdowns, as I say, have already begun. It seems to me that there ought to be some deference to those who are running the war, the generals, in terms of whether it's at the pace at which this drawdown should take place and based on the conditions on the ground. However one feels about how we got to this point, the reality is we have had some significant success due to the efforts of our men and women in uniform in particular and their sacrifices. We don't want to sacrifice that success. And so how do we get the next phase of this conflict right? Because the consequences of getting it wrong are potentially very high. So it seems to me I think that the debate has really moved on. It's really not about principles, it seems to me, anymore. It's about pacing. And that's where I think deference should be paid to the views of those conducting the operations.
You have said more than once that it is crucial that the political unrest there not interfere with the fight against terrorism that's going on, that's being waged by their military. Do you think that General Musharraf can still be an effective leader in that fight, or is he now so weakened that he can't perform that role, and would Benazir Bhutto be a more effective leader in organizing and leading that fight?
Well, I'm not going to make a call like that. I would say, though, that his ability to lead, to continue to be a partner in the war on terror, very much depends on how developments unfold over the next few weeks in Pakistan. And clearly, as the Admiral indicated, he needs to move beyond the emergency measures as quickly as possible. I think our view is he needs to step out of his Army Chief of Staff role and become a civilian. But I think it will really depend on how developments unfold.
What is the trend that you see? Do you see things moving in a good trend, or?
Well, he's announced elections. I think we'll just have to see.
We've been obviously conscious of what the Pakistanis have done in the nuclear weapon development for many years, and currently in the current crisis, we've paid an awful lot of attention, as we have in the past. And so I'm confident that at this point that they're secure, and I've seen absolutely no indication to the contrary, and would only reaffirm what I said before. Very watchful, mindful certainly of the general concerns or what the potential could be, but don't see any of that potential which being fulfilled at this particular point in time.
Have they taken extra measures of protection?
I'm not going to talk about the kinds of actions that have been taken with respect to those weapons, either by us or by them, except to say that again we're watchful, and I'm comfortable that the weapons are secure.
Mr. Secretary,
I would just say General Musharraf, President Musharraf, has been a strong ally to this country in the war on terror since 9/11. I'm not going to start to speculate on future developments.
Some said the only way to really pressure Musharraf is to seriously threaten to cut off aid, or in fact to cut off aid. What would the risks be to cutting off our military aid to Pakistan at this point?
Well, the review of assistance was undertaken principally after he declared the state of emergency to find out if there were statutory requirements for us to make any changes. As I understand it, the conclusion of that was not at this time. And so there has been no change as far as I know. So what was your question?
My question is, to those who say that this is the only way truly to pressure him to step down as military chief of staff to end the state of the emergency, would it cut off aid? What would the risk be? Why would that be?
I think sometimes we overestimate our influence and our capacity to cause people to do things. I think the principal pressures on President Musharraf are from within Pakistan, not from the United States.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the mill-to-mill contacts between the United States and Pakistan. What's the message that they are sending to the military? These mid-level contacts or high-level? And have you talked to General Kiani about the situation there?
No,
Not
I
you,
haven't.
But you particularly, but the military in general.
I haven't spoken with General Kiani, and the contacts that we've had over the years are being maintained, and I'm again very comfortable that from a military standpoint that everything in Pakistan is reasonably normal, and that those contacts will continue. And from those contacts, there's no indication the situation is anything other than has been described.